All right, time to get into the office. It's I think last day where folks are traveling in that I'm working closely with at least. So we'll do one more of these. It says 50 minutes to get in, but that better not be the case. We'll see. Yesterday was pretty rough. There was I guess there was an accident or something. I don't know. I couldn't see anything, but super slow. So that doesn't always happen, fortunately, or else I would go nuts, but we'll see. It's pretty bright already. So I was at CrossFit this morning. So I've been up for a little bit. I had to be up at 5. It's already 9:15, so kind of weird though, just that seems like a long time. Like I've already been up for over 4 hours, and just based on where things are, it's kind of inefficient, I guess. So like I wake up at 5, CrossFit classes for 6, so I have to be out of my house by 5:30. So like 30 minutes to try and just like be conscious, I guess, which is hard at 5 in the morning. Then I come back home and then shower, and then I'm kind of in this like weird spot where there's not a ton of time to get into anything. I took a call this morning for it's not work related, so what do I call it? It's for content creation reasons, I guess. So that was a quick call, but then like I said, I'm kind of left in this weird spot where I don't have a lot of time to dive into anything. So I'm not yet figuring out how to optimize this amount of time, because when I was going to the gym in the evening, I could figure my stuff out. Like I could go basically right from work, or if I'm working from home, just go right to the gym, and then not have this weird like I got 40 minutes, I got an hour and 15 minutes, like what can I kind of put in the middle there? So I gotta figure that out, because it's gonna drive me nuts if I'm doing this for like a year and then I'm like, where's all this time being lost? And to be honest, like big part of it's gonna be that 30 minutes of just like traveling to CrossFit. And then on the way back, like that's when traffic starts to pick up in that direction too. So it's like it's gonna be another 30 minutes. I already lost an hour to driving basically today. So that doesn't feel good, but that's okay. Yeah, I think a couple things I was thinking about talking about today. One-on-ones, I think, is an interesting topic, so I want to ramble about that. I guess before I do that, I thought it was kind of funny. I'm going to use the word funny. These are like very clearly vlog videos, so I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I would love for someone to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like if you're clicking on this to watch it, you see a dude in a car and I'm driving and I'm talking, I just feel like you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And I don't care if people are like liking the videos and all that, like it's great, but like I'm not asking you to do that. But I find it fascinating when people dislike a video. So I guess I don't make dislikes public anymore, but it always makes me wonder, like, what could I have possibly said that made you go, nope, like I need to take an explicit action to dislike this. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't really care. It's more just that I'm curious, like what makes people do that? Because I could totally get if you were like, YouTube just put the video in front of you and you were like, no, I want to make sure I don't get this on my feed anymore. Like, let me try to tell the algorithm to not show it to me. But like, you click this, I'm pretty sure I feel like you must have clicked this video. So if you're like actively disliking it, like why so aggressive? But anyway, one-on-ones. We're going to talk about one-on-ones a little bit. So one-on-ones are obviously an important thing, but everyone's got a different perspective on them. I've heard people say that, like, if you don't have an agenda for a one-on-one, like, you're failing, like, as a manager and as, like, an employee, I guess. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've had hard agendas in one-on-ones since I started managing. And I was, like, trying to do better things and, like, test things out and, like, having schedules, making people, like, fill out notes and stuff before. And I'm like, nah, you know, at this point, doesn't make sense. Now, if people want to do that, different story, right? So I think I've adjusted a lot of my management leadership style to be just purely as flexible as I can to the individuals that are on my team. And I'm trying to like, there's very few things where I'm like, oh, like everyone on the team's got to do this. And we're going to talk about one of these things that I don't enforce, but kind of want people to do because I think it's important. And I was talking with someone else about this that it's a little bit more senior than me, and I think we were in alignment on it, so it was kind of interesting to get their take. But one-on-ones, right? It's pretty typical that one-on-ones devolve into, like, and I'm using the word devolve not to, I don't want that to sound like an aggressive word, like this is the worst thing that can happen, but it kind of seems like the steady state thing. So when I say devolve, that's what I mean. But I see them devolve into two things. One is just status updates. So people saying, like, here's the code I'm writing for the feature or the bug, and, like, here's where I'm at. And it's kind of like the gist of it. And then the other thing that they devolve into is kind of like, is basically a similar thing, but then someone going, like, I don't really have anything for today. Like, and I guess the framing generally is like, I don't need anything from you, and I don't have any status updates to, like, convey. So when I say devolve into, what I'm saying is I think that it's pretty typical that over time, without sort of the right ingredients going into it, that things kind of fall back into that kind of situation. And I think it's kind of unfortunate because I think that these are really good opportunities. Now, there's an interesting kind of way to look at this, because it's like, obviously as an engineering manager, I want to make sure that I'm helping people to get the best out of those conversations, right? Like, that's what I want. That's my job, is to make sure that I can help you do your best work possible. So it would make sense that I want you to have, like, effective one-on-ones. But when I'm saying an interesting balance is, like, I don't want to hold people's hands through it to tell them, like, here's what you got to do, because part of it is, like, coaching people to be proactive. And, like, I want people to be able to have the ability to say, like, here's what I want in my one-on-ones. Like, here's the value I want to get out of them. But the reason I say that's interesting is, like, how do you balance that? Because I don't want to dictate what happens in a one-on-one, but I also don't want it to, like, you know, air quotes again, like, devolve into just status updates. So I think part of how I approach these is, like, I need to let people know that they have the flexibility to go over anything that they're interested in. And I let them know that, like, if there's anything that I actually need from them, like, if I need something, then I won't use a one-on-one to get it from them. And I think that's important because I don't want them to feel a pressure that they need to have, like, that they need to use it for status updates. There's a police officer. We gotta watch our speed. It's just unfortunate because he's driving in the the lane that I need to move into, so I have to like merge into the fast lane in just a second, and that's where he is. There we go, we did it. Kind of awkward. Oh, he's pulling over. He's going to the hiding spot. That felt weird. I was like, is he trying to like pull over so that so that he can put his cherries on and then pull me over or something? I don't know. Anyway, what was I saying? I was super distracted when, I don't know if other people get this. I think it's pretty common, but like, there's a cop and then you're like, wait, what law am I breaking? I don't know, like, am I allowed to have a camera pointed at me? Is that okay? Was I speeding? I was speeding a little bit, but not a lot. They passed me. So, this big old truck, what's it doing? What are you guys doing? Okay, so yeah, I like letting people know that, like, basically, I don't expect them to have to give me information in one-on-ones. Like, we have sync meetings for that with our team. If I need something, like, for example, if they're working on a project, there's other visibility with partners and other stakeholders, like, I will reach out to them as I need to try and convey those updates. Like, you don't need your one-on-one time to tell me that. Now, I've seen people talk about this online a lot, and kind of like with anything, when people start taking extremes, I feel like I have a hard time, like, getting behind things that are extreme like that. And the thing that I see people say is like, sorry, just getting something to drink here. The thing that I see people say is that you should, like, status updates in one-on-ones, like, what are you, like a barbarian? Like, it's like the worst thing that could ever happen. You know, like, shame on you as a manager, and like, how could you be so wasteful as an employee? And I'm like, look, I think that there is value in status updates, but I think it's all about why, right? So, again, if you're giving me a status update because you think that I need to have that information, or like that I'm waiting on you for it, I think that's a problem, because, like I said, I'm trying to communicate to people. I don't have that expectation of you. If I need it, I will come get it from you. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Hammering the brakes here. This Audi SUV behind me, it might be a Q8. Kind of looks like a big old SUV. I didn't think they were going to stop. So, that kind of bothers me, because, like, there can be value in that. And the thing that I try to have when people are giving status updates, like, there is this opportunity where we can kind of shift gears a little bit, right? So, as they're giving me the status update, I try to change it from, like, it's not just like a checklist, like, tell me the next project, what's the status? Tell me the next project, what's the status? Like, I try to dig into things a little bit more, like, oh yeah, you were collaborating with so-and-so on this other team. Tell me how that's going. Like, how's that working relationship going? Like, are you getting the things you need from them? Right? Like, are you feeling blocked? Are you feeling like there's ambiguity? They might be working closely together, and they need something from someone else. So, okay, like, are you guys pairing up and working on this and it's effective? Or, like, it's about the other parts, not the status update itself. And what can be really cool about that too is, especially if we've been talking about some focus areas, like hey, like, going forward, it'd be good if we can start getting you in front of more design documents, or we were looking for something that you can lead, like, you know, whatever it happens to be. It could be a million things. Being able to talk through status updates and correlate them back to things like that, I think that's helpful, because now we're kind of like linking it to some career growth, like kind of like weaving it in and out. So I think that there's opportunities for that. And to be totally honest, if you're doing weekly one-on-ones, if you're trying to talk about career growth in depth every single weekly one-on-one, it's totally artificial that you're going to be able to make progress like that every week. It's just the reality. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that, like, it's unrealistic for every week to be like, you know, good job, bad job, whatever it happens to be, and like we can see the needle moving on the career progress. It's just not realistic. You can have a week where someone's out for 2 days, and now they've been working for 3 days, and what, next week you're gonna like forcefully talk about career progress? And like maybe you could talk about other things that you haven't talked about career-wise. Like, it's possible, but I just feel like it's artificial to like force that, which is exactly why I like having my employees drive. So I don't go in with schedules. I have some employees that absolutely create schedules for the things they want to talk through. They'll have a list. Sometimes they send me the list ahead of time. That's great. That's super cool. Is it helpful for me? Hell yeah. But like, do I need it? No. So like, if they stopped, I wouldn't want them to be like, oh, sorry, like, you know, I couldn't get to it, I'm so sorry. Like, no, like, this is an extra thing. It's not an expectation. So is it helpful? Yeah, because I can read it ahead of time. I can collect my thoughts. That's cool. But I wouldn't mandate it, because I think for individuals like that, they're getting benefit out of putting that together. Like, they're like, it's basically transcribed from their own notes. Man, that sun is something else. Jeez. This little thing is like ridiculous. It's so small, it doesn't even make sense. Like, how much sun are you actually blocking with this thing? 0. You're blocking 0 sun. Okay, so I don't need agendas ahead of time. They're helpful. It's great. I think it's a good exercise if people are already kind of planning their week and stuff. Super cool, but not required. So some people do it. That's great. So when people want to talk about status updates and things like that, I am not opposed to it. I try to pay attention, though. I feel like if we are going through every one-on-one and it's always a status update, and the sort of, you know, that little bit of deeper analysis I was talking about, that bit of exploration, like, hey, like, tell me about how some of these other things are going. If that's not fruitful regularly, then I'm like, okay, I'll interject a little bit and say, hey, for next time, like, it's been a little while since we've talked about X, like, with respect to career growth. Like, let's make sure we give that some thought. We can talk about that next time. Right? So I will try to bring it back. And I often think that it's not like people are trying to avoid that conversation or something. Like, that's not it. I think it's more that it's kind of a weird thing to bring up for some people. Like, it's a little bit uncomfortable, which is fine. I get that. I think for me to talk even with my own managers about career progression and bring that up as a topic, like, that still feels unnatural to me. So I get it. That's fine. But if they brought it up to me, if they were encouraging me and saying like, hey, like, we should talk about this, then I'm like, yeah, like, that actually makes sense. Like, that would be a good thing. So, you know, I'm putting it in front of them to kind of like remind them, like, hey, like, we can do this, you know, like, this would be a helpful thing for you, right? And every single time they're like, oh yeah, like, that would be really good. I'm like, okay, like, I got to do a better job reminding people that that's totally a topic that's okay to talk about and we should be talking about. So, yeah, otherwise in one-on-ones, something I sometimes mix in is like, if people are working on some bigger work streams, so say they're delivering features or functionality in a particular work stream, there are sometimes situations where, like, especially if we have a lot of time, like, say we've kind of flown through things, and that's great. If there's a lot of time, what I might do is say, hey, that work stream that you're working on, like, heads up, like, so we have this bigger focus, and like, here's how that work like fits into that, and here's how These other things are coming up. Here's how this overall work stream is super valuable. So I sometimes take this opportunity, if there's extra time, just to like remind people about the value that they're delivering, right? Because I think it's easy for people to get lost in the why, and they end up focusing more on like, I got to get something delivered by a certain date, and like, I know how, I know what, and I know how, and let me focus on that. But hearing why, understanding why can be a very motivational thing, can be a very engaging thing where people start to go, I understand the significance of this. And especially if they're facing challenges, they can remind themselves, like, this is why this stuff's valuable. It's not just because, like, someone wanted to, like, change how the code looks for no reason. It's like, no, like, there's actually truly value to it. I just realized how tired I am. Not good. I blame CrossFit. CrossFit's bad for you. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about, though, and it's kind of related to one-on-ones, it's like, and this is going to be, this might look different in different places, so I kind of give you a little bit of the Office 365 perspective. This guy's ridiculous. There's a guy in another lane who's got his signal on. It's just left it on, I guess. But he's driving at a weird speed, like he's trying to merge in, but like there's no way it's going to happen. Okay, so this other thing I want to talk about are, we call them a bunch of things. Like there's a talent guide, there's the rainbow document because it's color coded. There is like a rubric. So really, it's just a rubric. And if that word sounds weird to you and you're like, I don't know what a rubric is, all that it is like a table. It's kind of like a criteria, and so each cell is criteria, but it's organized by like the type of the criteria and the level or band, I guess. So kind of like experience, and the other axis is like the focus area, if you can kind of call it that way. So these talent guides are, I think, extremely helpful. They are not mandated for use between managers and employees, and to me that's baffling. Like we have at Microsoft, we have something called the Connect, and the Connect is mandated. For us, we have to do Connects twice a year with our employees, and that makes sense. Would more often make more sense, perhaps, but we're not forced to do it any more than twice a year. So the talent guide and the rubric are interesting because your Connect is kind of like listing out, and I'm oversimplifying it, but like listing out, here's the things that I've worked on, here's all the awesome stuff, here's the things I learned, like setbacks and how I overcame them. A lot of goodness, for sure. But I sometimes feel like it ends up missing out on those core things that we look for in the talent guide. And to say it explicitly, when it comes time for promoting people and talking about rewards and things like that, as managers, we literally use the same like type of data points from the rubric and the talent guide. We literally do that. So I've always found it kind of fascinating that like it's not mandated. But that's the way it is. So kind of weird. Now, I wanted to talk about these because I think they are so valuable. And at the end of the day, like when it's time for promotions and rewards, like literally what I need to do is have write-ups for individuals on my team for their performance bonuses, for rewards. Looks like something's on fire on the road here. What's going on? Maybe someone's terrible exhaust. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so when it comes time for doing those things, like what I need to do... Oh, what the... This guy's he just passed a truck. It literally looks like there's clouds of smoke pouring out of this guy's truck. Like it's filling the road. That's how bad it is. It looked like fire. When it comes time for the talent guides and the rubrics and all that, promotions and rewards, I need to be able to talk about the items that are in the talent guide, like as the requirements. Like I literally take my own wording, and if you're not going through talent guides with individuals, you are tasked with, like, talk to me about this individual with respect to the talent guide. And that's because within our organizations, we need to make sure that we're looking at people fairly. So that's where the fairness comes from. We have a common rubric to make sure that people are focused on the things we care about in terms of like key competencies and stuff like that. So if we need them as managers to be able to, if we need the talent guide information as managers for promotions and rewards, like, why would you not mandate that you should be having those conversations with your employees? I just feel like that's a huge missed opportunity. And I know it's not happening because I've literally had people on my teams that are like, oh no, I've never heard of that. Oh, an accident, nice. It's a little one, it's a little fender bender, but that's why got like someone smoking out of the back, right? That truck that I passed, we got a little fender bender which is blocking everything else. It's like people have a little fender bender and I'm in the pay to be fast lanes, but they're in the other far left lane, which is still a fast lane, and they're just stopped. Like, get off the road, get out of the way. It's crazy. You're not gonna, you're gonna get out on the highway and have a conversation with the person that hit you? Like, nah, get out of there. So the goal of what I wanted to cover with the talent guides and stuff is how much emphasis people put onto them. And like I said, as managers, we need that data. Like, we have to come up with it. So I would rather talk with the people on my team, level set expectations with them, and say, like, whatever we're talking about in this talent guide, like, that's my ammunition to make sure that I can try to get you promoted and get you good rewards. Like, I'm not trying to gatekeep it. I'm trying to work with you and show you, you got to go in this direction. Here's literally what we're looking for. And I'm going to be taking these data points and trying to represent you. So I need that. But then the interesting thing came up, which was, who seems to care about these things? Because I've talked to a handful of different people at different levels for the teams that I manage, and sometimes people don't care at all. They couldn't be bothered to go look at the talent guide. It's just more paperwork. And some people ask for checking in on the talent guide nonstop. I think there's probably a happy medium somewhere, like with most things. But I thought it was very interesting. And it's like, okay, like what do the patterns start to look like? And I actually find that many junior software developers are interested in the talent guide. And, they're new to Microsoft. There might be, early in their career, whatever it happens to be. We talk about the talent guide and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Like, that's exactly what I need. Like, I will get back to you like over the next week, and I'll kind of fill out from my perspective, like, any questions I have and like just notes on the talent guide. Great. When I talk to principal and above, well, I say above, I've never talked to anyone or managed anyone that's technically above principal, just different levels of principal. And what I find is the more senior people become, the less they seem to care about the talent guide. And it's very interesting. And I'm not saying it's a causation thing. That's absolutely correlation. I can't prove causation from it or whatever, but I find it interesting. And I don't know if it's because they're like, look, I looked at it before and like it never helped. I don't know. I don't know if they're like, I just don't have time. I'm so busy as someone who's more principal. Okay. I don't know if they just don't understand like how it gets used. Okay. Like there's so many things that got me thinking, like, why is it that the principal level engineers seem to just not care? And I was talking about this with someone else who is more senior than me and was expressing this, and I was like, I find it kind of weird that like the principal people don't care. And he was like, it was funny because he's like, I can't recall if he said he had observed that or not, but he was like, of all the people that should be caring, he's like, it's absolutely the principals at that level. And it's interesting because when we think about, like, again, generalizations, right? So if we think about the people who are like gung-ho about, hey, yeah, like totally want to do the talent guide, I want to review it, I want to put effort into it. Like, those people are probably already like the kind of people that are going to be focused on growth. Like, you could almost not use the talent guide and just make sure you're steering them in the right direction, and they're probably going to do like pretty well, right? Because they're thinking about it. They're thinking about what are the things they need to be doing. And it's funny because at the principal level for some of these individuals, they might have been doing all of those things for a long time naturally. Like, I got the big projects, I know how to deliver on them, I communicate effectively. Like, they're doing all these good things. But once they get to principal level, it's very difficult to get to the next level, like next level that's within the principal band. So Microsoft principal starts at level 65. And there's many people that will say, like, a lot of people will generally not even get to principal. Like, to go from senior to principal, it's a pretty big jump. It's very significant. But to go from 65 to 66 is also a huge jump. And the way that this person explained it was like, it's almost like exponential, the amount of effort that has to go in to all the levels, like at and after principal. Like, it starts to become exponential. So he was saying the challenging part is like for the principal levels that are like principal people, they're especially at that first level, they're like, I don't care about the talent guide really. Like, sure, I see the value, but like kind of busy work. This person was saying, like, it's dangerous because those people might be doing well, they're being effective, but like, if they don't change how they work on certain things, they might find that they get stuck because just literally because the expectations are that much higher. So they go, great, okay, like, did well, and next year, okay, did well, and it's like they just feel like over time they're going to feel like they're not progressing. And does the talent guide answer all of that for us perfectly? Like, no, I don't think so. But I think it at least facilitates a conversation about what they need to be focused on. So, yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting that it was like, the anecdotally, the population of people that's not interested in the talent guide is the population that should be the most concerned with it. But anyway, if you have something like that at your work, I highly recommend you talk about it with your manager. It's a super useful tool. I like having it to be able to pull like information from. Makes my rewards and performance conversations so much easier. So lots of goodness from it. Okay, we are almost at the office here. I got a couple more turns. I'm realizing, I was talking about narcolepsy in my previous video. What I didn't talk about was long drives for me. I've taken many long drives before. When I say long, I mean like I've driven from like Kitchener-Waterloo in Ontario to San Jose, California, and back. I have, and sorry, not in one sitting, but I've done that drive. I've done from that area in Ontario out to Edmonton, and I've done that back, right? Like, I've taken some really long drives. Those I get pretty tired on, as you might expect. It's a lot of driving. But in the past few years, I found, especially as a passenger, I almost fall asleep instantly in cars now as a passenger. Not quite instantly, but if we're driving, it's like, like a 20-30 minute drive. If no one's talking to me, I'm sleeping. But what I've noticed now is, as a driver, I start to feel, I don't fall asleep, but I start to feel extremely tired. Like, I feel like, and this is kicking in on the drive here, not enough where I'm like, oh, better watch out, my eyes are closing, but enough that I'm like, if I were to pull over this car, or like get to the office and like just park, I bet you I could have a nap. Like, I bet you my body's like, we're ready for it, which I thought was really neat, because I was talking a lot, and talking should be enough to keep me not feeling like that, but I was very much like I need to yawn. I bet you I have to go into the office, but I bet you if I just turned off this car, if I had a little pillow, I could sleep right here and it'd be fine. But I'm not going to do that, because I got one-on-one calls today. And the whole reason I wanted to talk about one-on-ones today, just to kind of connect all the dots before I walk inside, was that with the office travel, there's only so much time that we have with some of the individuals that came in. And I don't like canceling one-on-ones, is not really something I'm okay with. But moving them, I don't feel good about either. But I had to ask some people today to move them to tomorrow, just because, like, with the office travel and having people here for a limited time, I wanted to be able to capitalize on that. So that's what I had to do today, which I don't feel good about. But I think the two guys that I asked are very understanding of this kind of thing. Like, I don't think they're gonna have an issue, but we'll see. I want to make sure that they're comfortable with it. So that's that. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to thumbs down this video like the other people did, shame on you. Just kidding. You can go ahead and do that if you want. But yeah, thanks, and I'll get one more on the way home. See you later.